in the same constitution, in case there is absence in the offices of the president, the person we are discussing with the deputy president is the person who will take charge immediately. So actually this is like a spare president, and it's not an office that we can discuss anyhowly. But Chair, let me go by your instructions. My last concern.
Order, let him finish.
Which is a concern,
There's something
actually.
which has been answered, which need not to go.
Order, I'll give you order. Just finish. Move to finish. Order.
Yeah, Masara Tulizamboli. My third issue, let me leave one of the questions that go for a concern. I believe the action taken has, in a way, opened up our security agencies to unnecessary scrutiny. As in, there were no discussions before this action as to who is superior between the GSU and the APs. And now the removal of the GSU and the bringing of the APs is the one which causing the aspect that there is some downgrading, that the security has been downgraded because the GSUs were superior to the APs. I think, Mr. Chair, that is something which should be addressed, and especially by the IG. It can't go out to the public there, because it means the other Kenyans who are being guarded by the APs out there, they are not as secure as they would be if they were being guarded by the GSU. So I think, and in the wisdom of his deputy president, actually he welcomed these officers, and he spoke about his confidence in the work they are going to do. And it was very clear in the media and in the public domain that he was comfortable with the APs who had been brought to his residence. So I would want to see the same, and especially from the office of the AG, a firefighting kind of mission to downplay that reasoning of there is one service which is superior to another. Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, just 1 minute.
Yeah, Chair, this is a House of Records. In our Constitution, there's nowhere written that we have a spare president. So I want on my to withdraw that statement, because it is nowhere. In our Constitution, there's no spare president.
Indeed, Honorable Mbai, did you refer to the Deputy President, His Excellency, as a spare president?
I never did, Chair.
Yeah, so if in case he did, then I order that we expunge that from the records. Honorable Kingangi. Thank you very much, Honorable Masal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me start by appreciating the security team. I have a lot of confidence in Kenya's security apparatus, their professionalism, and the organization. Having said that, alluded to, and other members have also asked, and it is a bigger question of the public right now. The reason why. Why did the change have to be done? Why now? And given the fact that the service standing orders and even the Act give the GSU the responsibility for State House and state lodges, unless one is arguing that the state lodges are more superior to the official residence of the Deputy President, then even the question of downgrading can be argued that it was a downgrade. Because if a state lodge which is visited even rarely, sometimes not visited even once a year, is being guarded by GSU, then one could even argue that it is a downgrade. Secondly, the strength of a security force is not the strength of the person standing at the post. It is the strength of the chain of command. It is the strength of the depth call it. For instance, the G company that guards the State House is backed up by a Recce company, which has got sufficient equipment, training, and it is configured as to enable that force to intervene if the need be, to be able to do whatever is necessary depending on the circumstances. So if you bring the SGB to the equation, then what becomes of the chain of command? What becomes of the backup plan? How does it work? So the question why it was done, I think it's still pertinent, and I think it's a big question in the minds of the public. Finally, I don't want to dwell into this. I think as much as we talk about the inner security layer and the outer layer, it has been tradition, and it is also captured in the Act and the standing orders that the GSU does protect. So I don't believe, and I would like to be explained to how the Inspector General has discretion in changing something which is provided for by the Act and the standing orders. So my question is, why? Thank you.
Yeah, I hear that the bigger question around it is, are there GSU officers guarding the residence of the Deputy President? And I think I hear that everybody, and it's cutting across all members.
Let me clarify.
Yes.
The second layer, because that's the argument, that the second layer has been changed, the inner layer has not been changed. The second layer State House is still GSU G company, backed up by the Recce. And it would make sense. It would make sense when the second layer was GSU, backed up by the same Recce company, which has the capability and training to back up.
I get. Now the police chiefs are here. They'll be able to take that up. The last one was Honorable Mujib.
But a point of order. Chair, I'll be asking my questions.
What is out of order? And you are in the next round.
Yes, I think as members of the Security Committee, we can also not just be throwing words. When you say State House should be guarded as same officers as the residence of the Deputy President, there should be reference to the law and the standing orders. And Honorable Matiang'I, the law talks about State House, state lodges, the President and the Deputy President, not the residence of the Deputy President.
Yes, in fact, I had wanted that to come from the Honorable CS so that they can give us details. I had that question, but let him clarify on that. Honorable Ambu.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will actually start my question from where Honorable Kaluma has just gone in. I wanted to ask the CS to clarify for us, according to the law. We have seen the Act, we have seen it being shared very widely. I have heard my colleague Honorable Matiang'I suggest that the Deputy President's residence should be above State Lodge. That's where I just understood him to be suggesting right now. But the law is very clear. We have the President as a person, the Deputy President as a person, State Houses and State Lodges being guarded by GSU. What I now wanted to understand, what is the definition of the Deputy President's residence according to the law? Is it categorized into something that then becomes part of what is in the law to be guarded? That's my first question. My second question goes towards timing. We live in this country, all of us, and I'm sure even you are very alive to the fact of the politics. Thank you. I think this is better. But I'm sure you had the first question, so I'll just go to the second one. We live in the country where we are very alive to the politics of the day, and I'm sure you knew that the decision you made was going to be politicized. And I wonder whether you actually factored in how you are going to deal with that. In this time and age, there are going to be people who are going to take a decision like that and make political capital out of it. And I say this because of the very interesting observation I have made. The principal himself, in this case, who is the deputy president, is on record saying he has no problem with the changes that have been made. However, his allies, every single day, are using this to play politics with. And so the question now I have on this...
Point of order, Chair.
You will allow me.
You will allow him to finish, just like
you are allowed to finish.
Yes. Yeah, you are allowed to finish.
There is something that you not continue.
Honorable Mbai, I allowed you to finish, and then I took the point of order. That's how we shall conduct business.
Thank you very much, Chair. The question I was making is, it is on record. The principal himself has said he has no problem with the security arrangement that he has. His allies are the ones who are playing politics with this issue. And now the question I have is, we have a public letter from the chief of staff of the principal complaining about this. Then we have the principal himself saying he has no problem. At this moment in time, who do we engage with? Do we engage with the public statements from the principal, as security officers, yourselves and us? Or do we engage on the public or the official statement from the chief of staff, or from the issues that are coming up from the allies? My third question. We have a situation, and I want to, it's something about order of command. It has been raised by a couple of my colleagues here, the issue of when you bring in new formations around the deputy president, is there a structure that takes over that formation? It says that now you have come in around the deputy president, you report to this particular officer, or what exactly happens? I ask that for this reason. When we have a situation where a VVIP has security officers who are police officers, who are then protecting situations that are not legal or lawful, as my brother Masara might have raised, who do you question at that moment in time? You have a situation where police officers are not allowed, are not supposed to allow us to have public meetings. And then I have a public meeting, and my security escort is there with me. Are you able to ask him, as the IG, to give you information on what that particular issue that arose? Because maybe that is part of the problem we're having here. My final question, which actually has been sent to me by somebody from Nyeri, who apparently, I didn't know we were live, is, does the law determine how many officers a VVIP is supposed to have? Is there a constitution? Because sometimes I feel as if part of the reason we're in this problem, I have looked at the historical security of all vice presidents that we have had. The decision that jumped from 30-something or 40-something or 50-something to 257, how was that decision made? And is that what we are suffering from now? Because once you give me, for example, as a member of parliament of Nyeri, if you give me 10 security officers today, and maybe the law says that you have 1, then tomorrow you can have 5, and leave me with 5. I will clearly complain that you have downgraded my security, despite the fact that the law says I should only have 1. So part of the problem, and maybe the question you can help us is, how did you make the decision to have 257 officers? And is that what the law requires the deputy president to have? And at what point do you then reduce them? And does that go against the law? Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mujiri. And I think I asked that question from the onset. Another question that is troubling everybody, including I asked whether if I want to beef up mine, you can allow that to happen, and you skipped it. Maybe this time around you will be able to address it. But what is out of order?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, we are discussing the matter security, actually government, the deputy president, the CS answering questions about security, which is government. I don't know where the issue of allies are coming from. What is allies in government? What is allies in government?
Well, I hear you, but I hope it's not me you're asking. If you ask me allies in English, I know what it means.
I'm asking through the chair. Honorable Wambugu said his allies. So I'm wondering, we are discussing government and security and the deputy president. What is his allies?
What are allies, Honorable Mujiri Wambugu? What are allies?
Thank you very much. I'm actually very happy to answer that question. The reason we are seated here, Just to explain who allies are.
The reason we are seated
The
here
definition
is
of allies.
there was a complaint that was public. That is what has raised us, given us the opportunity to, made us actually summon the CS and his team. That complaint has been public. The allies are the people who are associated with the Deputy President, his friends who are looking out for his interests. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing.
Yes, I think, and he alluded to, and this is very important, Honorable CS, he alluded to a letter written to IG of Police by the Chief of Staff, and I think that needs to come out so that in case, and if indeed it happened, then we also want to be privy to the contents of that letter. Honorable CS, I think you can go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir, and thanks, honourable members, for the questions that you have asked so far. Let me start in the order in which they were raised. The question that Honourable Mbai asked is about downgrading and whether or not we should comment about this. Let me be very frank as a public officer and the minister in charge of security in the country. Most of the debate that is going on about this, and anyone you hear talking about downgrading, definitely they display some measure of very frustrating ignorance. For example, the IG has got over 13 other units, some of them crack units that he could draw from in providing support to the Deputy President's security. When the Deputy President moves, for example, to some parts of the country, if the IG feels that he needs to bring in SOG or QRT or so on, you see people are raising questions. Many of the people who are debating these things, first of all, don't understand the entirety of the formations of the police service. They don't understand the strengths and the capacities that we have and the training and the capacities of all the other formations. So people have just proceeded from a propagandist easy point of saying you're downgrading the security of the Deputy President and so on. We're not looking at the facts as they are. In that layer too that I have used to demonstrate to you that we actually call this in operational terms support services, because the core team that is supposed to protect the Deputy President is the presidential escort. This is what is prepared to protect the Deputy President. Whether he is driving, walking, flying, what have you, these are the people, it's intact, he's protected. Then support services, the IG has got over 13 units to draw from to provide support services. What tells you that this unit is stronger or weaker than the other one? And over a period of time, given the resources that we have deployed, there are other units that actually you do not know of that probably have got stronger and even better capabilities to do certain things. Because let's look at Article 10 of the National Police Service Act. It's very clear in the service. And how does the IG determine? He uses the information that is given. He uses the intelligence that he receives. And from time to time, he will make certain changes.